Hi class, today I am at pole vault camp, so I will be filming from this ginormous pole vault facility in Fort Worth. It's a really good thing that this class is held online because I would not make it back in time to go to actual class. So, I want to talk about a recent news article that I found that refers to the Milk Act. That's M-I-L-K. So legislation back in 2010 prohibited 2% and whole milk from being served in schools. This led to a decline in milk consumption and a lot of argument from the Dairy Council. Imagine that. Senators Pat Toomey and Ron Johnson decided that we should introduce something called a Milk Act, where we let children in schools have 2% and whole milk to choose from, along with skim. I was recently in Washington, D.C., actually doing a trip for policy and Hunger in America. And we actually got to talk to several House of Representatives employees and learn about the child nutrition reauthorization. And one of the big issues on that was the Milk Act. So I'm very excited to talk about this. Since the limits were placed in 2010, milk consumption has actually gone down in schools, and so dairy companies have actually gotten scared about losing a generation of milk drinkers. I personally am less concerned with whether people drink milk or not, but more so that they have the freedom to choose something that is healthy. So far in America, I don't think that the push for skim milk has really decreased our obesity problem in schools or otherwise. And I think that there can be merits to drinking whole milk, which technically is 3.25% milk fat, versus normally in the store we see a lot of skim, which would be 0 or 1% or 2%. Because it is less processed. The defatted milk actually goes through a whole processing of processing. And is that healthier for our kids in schools? You tell me. Just kidding. I'll tell you. So the only real advantage that we see to drinking skim milk is the protein to calorie content ratio. Obviously there are lower calories in skim milk and still the same amount of protein per cup. Versus, on the other hand, you have whole milk, which has about 73 times the amount of omega-3 fatty acids as a cup of skim milk would. That's insane. We've seen that omega-3 fatty acids can be very good for you. There are multiple studies that talk about reductions in heart disease, brain problems, or improved cognition anyways. And even Dr. Bowden did a study that saw that omega-3s have the potential to reduce inflammation. So why wouldn't we want to be giving this to our kids? So, with all of the emerging evidence in support of unadulterated, normal fat dairy, shouldn't we at least give kids a variety of options at their schools? Typically, kids will just choose what they're served at home anyways. So more of an issue of parental rights and choice for parents than it is anything. To me, it's pretty interesting that the government should dictate our food intake anyways, but I guess there has to be some legislation, otherwise we might just go crazy and we might all be overweight or obese or get chronic diseases. So I appreciate what our government does for us, but sometimes when we're talking about drawing lines between high fat, low fat, medium fat dairy, I think it's best to just let the customer have their choice and deal with the consequences of that later. Thank you guys for joining me at pole vault camp. I hope that you had as much fun watching this video as I had filming it, and I hope that this was also a relevant public health issue. I'm particularly interested in nutrition, so you got to see a little bit of what I like to do today: pole vault and nutrition.